You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Well, Don and Ivan. Ivan, you sitting down or what are you doing?
I'm just
You're
overseeing
standing up
you, so
looking.
we've still got a recording.
Oh, yeah, we got a recording? Yeah, this is a recording, isn't it?
It is.
I'd hate to speak to our guest here and this not going to air or being recorded. No, it's being recorded. I can see the cadence bars. Don, sitting beside you is one of the real talents of the Australian entertainment industry. She, I think her pronouns are she and her, but we can ask her that. But she looks like her pronouns are she and her. She's an OAM recipient.
OAM?
Order of Australian Medal.
For what?
Well, hang on. I'm introducing and you can ask her all that. And this is just a brief synopsis from the machine that we get all our information from.
Where you get your information from? It's called Wikipedia.
Okay, well, you've looked her up, have you?
No.
Well, right. Well, I've looked her up.
Because I'd like to ask her questions and get to know our guest.
Well, I'm going to tell you who our guest is. She, this is what it says here. She has been, in the early 80s, she acted in the Australian television series The Young Doctors, starting out Prisoner, Saturday, The Henderson Kids. She made guest appearances in the 89 episode of Mission Impossible. She has hosted Sex Life on Channel 10. She has starred in the drama series Fire. She was also a panellist on the program Beauty and the Beast and All Star Squares. She has had appearances in TV shows including The Secret Life of Us, Bert's Family Feud, Big Questions, Surprise, Surprise, Christ, I was on Surprise, Surprise, Gotcha Pizza, Celebrity Singing Bee, and had 3-episode run on Blue Healers. My mother-in-law was a faith healer. No, that's right. And my mother-in-law was a blue healer. She also, and has had she appeared on Neighbours for 3 months as Cassandra Friedman. She has also acted in 2 episodes of Swift and Shift Couriers, or whatever that means. Anyhow, she's been on Underbelly Files, Infiltration, Jack Irish. She is one of the founding members, in fact, one of the members of the absolute famous group called the Shantuzis. Don?
I know, and that's what I want to ask.
No, I'm telling the listener. I know you know. I'm telling the people
Well, I
who are
was
wondering.
infatuated by
I
the
haven't even mentioned the
Shantuzis.
name. So this is, you always keep the guest's name till last, and they say, I wonder who this could be.
Well,
she is the vivacious, I think we can say that. I'm saying it anyhow.
That's sexist?
It is sexist. It is sexist to say that. It just should call her a person, but she's a vivacious-looking person, and she's a star.
Do you think she plays on it?
Well, so that's my first question was, it says that she was known as a sex symbol. Someone said that in Wikipedia, they said she is known as an Australian sex symbol. I'm wondering how she handles that in this day and age. And she is, and still is, the great Totty Goldsmith. Totty, welcome to You Cannot Be Serious. I don't care if people think this is wrong to say it. You look fantastic.
Thanks,
You're
mate.
sitting here with a sort of a cowboy hat-ish thing on, and you look fantastic. And I don't care if I shouldn't say that, but you do. And what do you think about being named? You probably still could be Australia's great sex symbol, but you were known as a sex symbol. Or is that devaluing actually your great persona?
No, look, to be honest, I'm from a different era. I'm not, as PC as the young ones are, because there's a lack of humour in that to me. But in the day, I never quite understood the whole sex symbol thing anyway. I didn't. I
Well,
mean,
you
I
look
still find
hot
that
is
quite
what
funny.
that means,
Thanks,
Toddy,
mate.
as if...
No, I'm going to take the compliment, especially at my age. I'll take anything I can get.
And we just should say that Totty is in her own right, Totty Goldsmith, but is the daughter of Brian Goldsmith.
The late
Brian Goldsmith, who not long ago left us.
Yeah, a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Don. This will be
And the
good.
daughter of Rona.
How do you know that? You Googled me. Or did you meet her?
No. Listen, my dear, can I ask?
My dear.
Because when he started reading all those credits, Is in the Australian industry the Harvey Weinstein influence in Australian film industry?
Can you reframe that? I didn't
Harvey
quite get that.
Weinstein touched up all his...
No, I know, but
yeah.
I don't quite understand what the
Well,
question
does
is.
that
you
exist
have
in
to
Australia,
cope
or
with
is
that?
it
Well,
only America?
No, it definitely did exist. And when I was a young'un in my 20s, I certainly got put in situations that were really uncomfortable and I didn't know. I mean, 20-year-olds nowadays are much more streetwise, astute, aware,
Savvy,
have a voice. And when I was at that age, I was much younger as a 20-year-old. And I was put in positions that made me extremely uncomfortable and didn't have a voice. So it absolutely did happen in Australia.
You're intimidated. Good question, Don. Intimidated.
But do you think
No,
that'll
go
ever
ahead,
be
Don. No, I
addressed,
won't
or do you
finish
think
what I
it'll
was going
just
to ask.
continue
You go
as
ahead. You
part
won't
of
get a
the
word in.
industry?
No, I would-
I think it's
Intimidated by-
being addressed, and I think when you shine light on
Okay.
anything, for the perpetrators, I think it will absolutely make them more conscious of their behaviour, because women of today, I did an interview recently and I was saying how much I learn from the young women of today, because I was raised in an era where women should be seen and not heard. I was raised like that. And when terrible things happened, we didn't have the courage to stand up. And so... and talk about it on a public level. And I gave the example because I just did I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And I was triggered by something that one of the other girls was talking about. And I talked about an experience that I had in 2011 where drugs were put in my bag by a guy I was dating. The policeman who leaked it to the press illegally was my second male, and then Darren Hinch, who was a family friend, didn't back me and kind of threw me under the bus. And this conversation came out again, and I did talk about in an interview that at that time, and that was only 11 years ago, I still didn't know how to have a voice and stand up for myself, because I was damned if I did, damned if I didn't. If the guy that put in my bag said it, he didn't do it, I'm still going to be in a position that it looked like I was bullshitting.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Right. So it's interesting, in this interview I was talking about how much I'm learning from younger women to have courage and stand up and speak your truth. So we are, we came from a very different era.
May I, Don? Why, just as a matter of interest, why didn't Darren Hinch back you, or why did he throw you under the bus?
Well,
Because I know Darren, we all know
we
Darren.
all know Darren, and Darren was what I considered a family friend.
Yes.
He was a family friend, and I
not
don't know.
anymore.
I don't know what his choice was, and that's for him. And he loves a bit of a headline.
Mm-hmm.
But interestingly, at the same time, Kerry-Ann Kennelly, who I knew from just being around, bumping around Channel 9 and at social events, I didn't know her like I knew Darren. And she said on her midday show, I just, I've met Toddy a lot of times, and I know people that know her. I just can't imagine they're hers. So she sort of had my back, and someone that knew me didn't. So obviously it was for the headlines, and Darren is, he's pissed off that I'm bringing this up again, and whatever, that's his choice. I'm bringing it up as something I went through, because although it was 11 years ago, it sits, when you haven't had a voice, things sit in your throat, and that you still can feel quite triggered about it. So I felt good that I talked about it, and talking about it as far as women being able to have a voice and stand up for themselves. But why Darren threw me under the bus, I don't know. He just made a call that was going to be better for his radio program at the time.
Don, just to follow what you were asking Toddy, a nice question. I liked it, Don. I wish I'd thought of it. But you said you absolutely were harassed by male CEOs and producers and people who
Directors,
called the
100%.
shots, and you were intimidated by them. And
Yeah.
did you, for the future of, or the sake of your career, did you actually comply with any of them, or was it tempting to, or you thought, I've got to make a decision here whether I come across or I just make it on my merits, so to speak?
Well, it was about me. It only happened a few times, and I didn't end up having sex with anyone. I wasn't put in a position like that. It wasn't nearly as bad as what these women now are coming out and saying, the Harvey Weinstein, for example, situation. But I was certainly put in positions where I was asked to change clothes in front of men, and I did it because I felt that they were in a position of power and I had to do it. I was intimidated.
Yeah, so that's right. That's right there as sexual harassment. That
It
is
is,
right
yeah.
up there, no matter what era that's in.
Yeah, that's
and
sexual
this is
harassment.
the fine line between the Me Too movement,
It is.
which people get harassed, women do, and sometimes the women exploit the fact that they've been harassed for their own propaganda.
Yes. Well, I didn't talk about it, and I guess I was more insecure at that age than the women are today, and I didn't know how to have a voice, and I didn't know how to stand up for myself. So I'm a late bloomer. It took me a long time to really, and it was very generational. This is a very generational thing.
So do you think it's still going on today, or there'd be not much of it?
I think there'd be...
Because of the
I'm sure
movement.
it's still going on, but I'm sure there's less of it because the perpetrators would be much more aware of women
Yes,
calling them out.
They'd be very careful to pick their mark and be very sure that if they made a move, that probably the person they're making a move on was going to be compliant, or else all hell will break loose.
Correct.
Have you any children?
I've got a daughter, yeah, she's
Now
28.
there's a lineage of
Layla.
being in it. Sorry,
Layla,
Layla.
Sammy knows Layla. Well, he met Layla.
don't look at
That's
me
a
like
good
that,
song.
Don. I've met Layla.
So there's a
She's
lineage of
Toddy's daughter.
entertainment in your
Family.
family.
Yeah.
Is Layla interested in the entertainment industry?
No, she followed after her father. Her dad was a Olympic downhill skier. Stephen Lee, he did 3 Olympics.
You haven't
and
done a lot of research, have you,
World
Don?
Cup skier.
No,
and
I've done no research. I'd rather find...
she was born on my birthday. She looks a lot like me, but she's a spit out of his mouth on those skis. It's one of the most beautiful things
Did
I've
Stephen
ever seen.
Lee come from... Is he from Myrtleford?
No, from Mount Beauty.
Yeah, well,
Originally
up that way. Yeah, up that
Sydney.
way. He could ski.
Oh, man, could he
Yeah,
ski.
years ago, he was one of the first, wasn't he?
He
Or
really-
Malcolm, was it Malcolm Milne or Stephen
Yeah,
Lee?
no, Malcolm Milne before Steve Lee. He's older. Steve's my age, 1962 baby. And Stevie opened a lot of doors for our Olympians now in,
Yeah,
in
I
winter
know.
sports.
Yeah.
And he's an extraordinary man and was an extraordinary skier. I say was because he's had a stroke and he can't ski now. And but he's was very vocal and opened up doors and very respected in the
So your
ski
daughter's
industry.
following what his...
Well, she trained for the Olympics and everything about her whole life was about skiing, and she's a superb, extraordinary skier. But she got to 16 and she just went, I want to have a life. I want to go to my friends' birthdays. I want to go shopping down Chapel Street. I want to be a normal 16-year-old. And so she didn't pursue it on that level, but she certainly had the talent.
So Don mentioned your mother.
My mother, Rona, how do you know Rona?
And that makes you, I presume, Olivia Newton-John's aunt. Or
Niece.
she is your aunt.
She's my aunt.
Yes. So just tell us the connection there, Don.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you,
So,
Don. I was looking at you
Yeah,
saying...
Don, how did Rona come up?
Yes,
for
if
you?
you've done no research, how did
I'm
it
just
come up?
fascinated because she didn't live in Australia for very long, so...
Well, don't shrug your shoulders. No one can see
Well,
you
I've got a
doing that.
question.
Yes.
Well, hang
About
on.
Rona.
How did you come up with Rona?
Well, yeah, you know things.
Well, you know nothing, Don. You know nothing
Well,
about her
I'm
at
just
all.
not a pretty face.
You didn't know she had a daughter or who she was married to, and suddenly you came up with that name.
So we're a sharing, caring group here. Talk to me. Come on, the Rona.
I
Talk
want to
about
know,
Rona.
the other thing I want to know from you...
Oh,
you-
he's avoiding it.
Yeah.
Well, I just know.
How?
I know that you've got 2 sisters.
I beg your pardon?
Okay.
I've met one, but I know you have
You
2
speaking to me?
sisters. Yes.
We're speaking to Totty.
That's right. So there are things you know.
Oh, well, did you know James Watt invented the steam engine? What are you talking about?
Stevenson did, didn't he?
Oh, whoever.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Now, the other thing I wanted to ask you,
Yes.
seeing that you just mentioned it before about celebrity... No.
I'm
what's
a
that
celebrity,
thing?
get me out of here. Yeah.
Okay, why did you do that? Because I want to ask you about this that's on the front page of the paper today about Wayne Carey.
Okay,
Now,
good.
okay,
Yeah.
know.
Moving
Why-
right along. This is
the
how Don
celebrity
does this
squirt-
stuff.
I'm I'm running with you. I can
okay.
track-
So
I can
why
track
did you
this shit.
why did you do this? I'm a celebrity. Get me out of here.
A few reasons. The first one, it was right bang smack in the middle of COVID and I was bored out of my brain and I'm right up for an adventure. The second one was there's a charity component that you can win $100,000 for your given charity, and my ex-husband Stephen, we just mentioned it, had a debilitating stroke and I learnt a lot about stroke and I wanted to shine some light and hopefully win some money for the Stroke Foundation. Mine was more about shining light because I really didn't think I was going to win. And also I wanted to earn some money.
How did you go? And did you win it?
No, I didn't win it. No.
Do you get voted in or out by the...
No, the way it was during COVID, because normally it's shot in South Africa and the whole thing is voted, it's done live and voted by the people. Because due to COVID, we did it in Australia where the English and the Germans shot it up in northern New South Wales. And I was fortunately in the group that we got bounced out backwards out of a chair, but it was about not being able to measure something and weigh something and count something. And then the final 6 that got through that were voted out by the peeps. And I didn't really want to be voted out by the peeps. I think that would be... I was really happy getting that far and, yeah, really happy getting that far.
So,
I did 17 days in there, or 17 sleeps. That's a fair whack of time when you're starving.
So is the show a contrived show where they ask you to have some angst or some disagreement with the people there, or is it genuinely you try and find who your soulmates are and you dislike other people there just genuinely?
The latter. I think because of COVID, it was really important to them that it wasn't a bad feel, and they got people that they hoped would get on well because they really looked at and they talked to us about this.
Did you get on with everyone?
We did. Look, there was one guy that gave me the shits like I can't tell you, this English guy called Joey from Essex, and I said on television, I said, he's just a dick. And I wasn't, afraid of him being
So
honest
it's not
about it.
censored or edited?
It's definitely edited. So they film us 24 hours a day, and then they do choose the way they want to frame you. I mean, when I saw
Were you happy
back,
with the way you came out of it?
Look, to a point, there was one moment that pissed me off a bit, but as quickly as it pissed me off, it went again. But I think they showed a certain side of me, not all of me, and there's a lot in all of us. We're a lot of, especially women, right?
Just before you were going to answer why Joey was a dick, before Don just didn't let you answer that, why was Joey a dick? Don?
Well, the way I experienced it was he was a little bit narcissistic and a little bit entitled.
He was
and
up himself?
He was a bit... Well, there was very little food.
Who is he?
He's some guy from some show called something about, Essex, and it's a family and they watched them growing up, and since doing this show, I don't know, it's called... Do you know what it's called?
Something from Essex.
You Google that? Yeah, we love Mr. Google. So his life has been being on reality shows, and then he's gone from one reality show to another, and God love him, he's bought a $10 million house, and he's done very well doing this life. But I think it can actually impact the way you are as
Do you get paid for it?
You do get paid for it.
The reason I'm asking...
I wouldn't have done it if you didn't, to be honest.
Yeah, the reason
it's been
I'm
hard
asking...
enough in my industry the last few years.
Yeah, okay, the reason I asked that is because on the front page of the Melbourne News Pictorial, there's a story about Wayne Carey.
That would be the Herald Sun.
Herald Sun, yeah. Thank you.
Good on you, Toddy.
Thank you.
It's called The Only Way is Essex. The Only Way is Essex. All right, back to you. Sorry, I just had to...
Okay.
Thank you for Googling that.
Okay.
It's not the Argus, is it, Don, or the...
No, the Argus went out of print in the 1950s.
That's right.
The Truth, remember
looks
the Truth?
like
I do.
think that's gone out of print.
Would you have featured in that? You
I
would have been a
did.
you would
I
have
was
been
a
a
page
cover
three,
girl.
right, cover girl.
You were
I was
no
something.
page 3
13.
girls.
Or
Giving her a
3 or
rap at
13.
We had Ron
These are
Taylor in
fucking
here who
Argus.
picked all the page 3 girls. Ron Taylor was the
Well,
racing
I don't
rider,
know
and
why
his
it
job
picked me.
was.
I was so chubby and not... I don't know.
How old were you?
Over 16, I know that, or it would have been illegal. I don't know.
So you were number 3,
You were
page 3.
I don't
were
know.
you?
There was no boobs. Yeah, I've slimmed out as I've got older, especially post
Chubby. I'd love to see what you
menopause.
call chubby.
Why do they call it menopause? Why? It's bloody womanopause.
Why do they call it menstruation?
It's just pause in your life for a while. Men. It's all... See,
Menstruation.
It's all about the
I'm
men.
telling
Menstrual.
you. Yeah.
Why do they call it anything?
Menace.
Yeah. Manager. Don. Moron. Oh, no, sorry.
No,
that's
men. Going back to the
yes, back-
pictorial.
Getting back to the pictorial.
the Sun pictorial.
Wayne Carey.
Yes, I'm
It's
sorry.
been reported, obviously, there's, what is it called, the show he's on now?
What is it?
And he's come out about being abusive in his
is
past
Is
relationship.
it SAS? Is it that show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I've got to watch that. That looks hectic.
Okay, now,
Hectic.
the reason I'm saying that, I know I asked you whether he got paid,
Yes.
he'd have to get paid to go on that show because of his priors. We tried to get him on our podcast, he wouldn't come on.
Really? Because
But
he knew
now-
you'd like slay
No,
him,
he didn't.
shred him.
He was shy to come on.
Oh, shy.
Well, how
you
do you
would have
know why
asked
he
him
didn't-
the obvious
he is
questions
shy.
which have appeared there. Now, he would have to get paid for, that's why I was
Bloody
asking.
hope so. That's
because,
hell. That show would be hell. I hope he's paid
yes,
handsomely.
but also to make those confessions, and it's probably ruined his career as well.
What was the confession?
About being abusive in relationships to his partners.
Did you watch the episode?
No, I don't watch any
I
of this.
wonder if he was doing it to be cathartic. And
Correct.
has he been
Yeah,
attacked
but he's bringing
in the paper?
undue damage to himself.
Look, let me tell you something. When you're in there and well, I can only speak on behalf of my experience in a celebrity get me out of here. You forget the cameras are there. You're starving. You don't get much sleep, and you're very triggered. And if he feels this has been sitting in him, and it's something that he needs to talk about and validate. He was in a bad place in his life when he was being an abusive person in a relationship, and he wants to talk about it. I don't know how he talked about it. Maybe he wants to stand up for these women or talk to men and help men that are got too much testosterone and raised inappropriately. Who knows? I don't know. I
met a
haven't
girl,
watched it.
and Ivan met a girl that was on my boat on the weekend. Ivan,
Yep.
and she went out with Wayne, and
Yes.
she said she never experienced any of what we're talking about. He
Yes.
was very nice to her,
That's really good
and
to hear.
she said she never experienced any of that. I can mention her name, but I won't.
do
Look,
that.
there's
I
no
won't mention her
excuses
name.
for hitting or abusing anybody, but certain relationships you can trigger each other more. You know, relationships that aren't good, you'll be much more triggered. And I'm not excusing him. I don't know what I'm talking about here, and I don't want to jump to his defence. But I kind of do, because in my experience of the times I've met him, he's been nothing but sweet and a little bit shy.
No, the reason I'm asking you've just got to get paid to come out and do something like that on a national television show. You just wouldn't,
it's not even
it wouldn't
just-
be cathartic. You know, you'd have to be financially rewarded.
You'd have to be rewarded because the networks make a lot of money. So why shouldn't you be rewarded? Nothing to do with... I made a choice. No, it wasn't a conscious choice at the time when I talked about my experience with the drug thing. It was triggered by something else, and who knows, he might have gone there because he wanted to talk about the space he was in when he was in this abusive relationship and grow from it and help other men. I don't know. I need to watch the episode to be able to talk.
But if
have
they're
this
taping you
conversation properly.
20 hours a day, you would just, at some point, you'd just forget. And then you just start talking about things.
There's hidden cameras everywhere. They're not in your face.
And were you encouraged, not you necessarily, were you encouraged to be a bit risque and
No.
have relationships or
No.
get
They
on to
did ask
people?
if I was single. They did ask if I was up for it, and I said, was like...
They
no,
did
no,
ask
no.
that, if you're up for it.
They did, and I said no, and I do believe that...
Hang
Joey-
on the show.
The producers, before you go on the show, they ask a lot of questions. They have a psych that profiles you. They ask you a lot of questions about things. The only place I wasn't totally honest was I said, I'm not afraid of anything, which is bullshit, because I thought if I say I'm really afraid of rodents and spiders, they're
Yeah.
going to put me underground with rodents and spiders. So I was pretty clever there. But the rest of it, I was just, just whatever. I
the
overshare. That's
flow.
why I'm sitting here with you guys.
So if you'd said you're up for, you're single, and would they encourage you to have sex with someone on?
I don't look a show like I'm a Celebrity. They wouldn't encourage it because they're actually pretty good people, to be honest. But if it's, I can't imagine anyone knowing that there's 100 cameras hidden around you is going to have sex. And if you do, well, that's your brand.
You haven't watched TikTok lately, have you?
I'm not on
What's
TikTok.
No,
but
I'm not on
But the
TikTok,
episode,
but
the
I get
series
sent
before, what's the girl, Abby Chatfield?
Yep.
She was.
Yep.
I caught up. Excuse me, I need to cough. Clear my throat, I should say. I was Googling before I said yes to the show. I was Googling the season before, and you get grabs of it. I didn't watch the whole thing. She's overtly sexual and very comfortable in that space, and so she was, she was flirting with a guy, and good on her. That's a choice that she made in the generation that she's in, and her brand and what she is. But it's not my brand, and it's not who I am. I'm probably very different to who I am to what people think I am anyway.
Well, I tell you, this is the Google machine says this, so I'm not speaking about anything no one doesn't know. It says you had chronic fatigue
Yes.
at some stage. I'm not experienced. Don't think I've had it myself. I reckon you might have it, Don, just to be honest. But I don't know what. How did you decide or discover you had chronic fatigue, and what does the symptoms, or what did that mean to you?
Well, at the time I was doing a show. I knew I was doing breakfast radio, and I was overwhelmingly tired, and I put it down to having a 2.5-year-old child and pressure, lack of sleep, balancing a kid, school, all that stuff. And then I was shooting Sex Life on the weekends, going up to Sydney, filming that, and my lifestyle was pretty full on. And then I was starting to kind of sync with it a bit more. I found out I had glandular fever, so I tried to look after myself, but in those days I didn't know how to say no to work. And I got a national tour of Grease, the spectacular musical. There was Craig McLachlan and Danny Minogue and all these people, and we toured the country, and it was awesome. But I was starting to feel worse and worse and worse, and then I was pushing through because that's the kind of personality type I am. And then I got offered the lead in the Rocky Horror Show to play Janet, and I'd always wanted to play that role. And I picked up Giardia in Sydney. There was a breakout, and I had to.
You picked up what?
Giardia. It's a stomach bug. It's a virus. It's nasty, nasty. It's normally in a third world country, and somehow it was in the 90s. I can't remember the year, 1996 or something. Anyway, it was all over the news to boil your water, wash your, do this, do that. Anyway, I got Giardia, and with the glandular, I sunk into this unbelievable place that I was. Depression came later because I just couldn't get out of bed, and I had to raise the flag and resign from a show, the Being Rocky Horror Show, from a role I'd always wanted, and that was really, really hard for me. And I'm not used to not being giving 110%. And so after a while, I just got sicker and sicker and sicker, and then I finally got diagnosed with chronic fatigue, and I was 18 months bedridden.
Wow.
And I was freezing cold in the heat and boiling hot in the cold. My circadian rhythms were out. I was awake all night and asleep during the day. I ached from head to toe. I was nauseous. This went on for years. And it took me 5 years to get back to work. So I didn't work for 5 years because I got to the point, I'd say to my agent, I'm ready to audition, and I'd learn the script and get in the car. By the time I drove to the audition, I couldn't get out of the car. I was just...
Well, you're an extremely resilient person, Don, because this would have been before, I presume, you had chronic fatigue, but you were part of a fantastic group called the Shantuzis.
Yes.
Extraordinarily, I know people who have seen you perform and they say it's world-class stuff. How did you get onto the Shantuzis? How did you develop that or put it together?
Well, we lived in a kibbutz pretty much. My dad, being Jewish, he didn't want all of his children. He actually ended up having 8. Didn't want us all moving out. So he bought, on Punt Road in South Yarra, what was an old people's home. And he knocked about 5 of the apartments through. It was built in 1910, so it had a cellar and a tower and a really beautiful old place. He gave my sister Fiona, my brother Brett and I all an apartment each. It was for us to do it up. And he put in a phone booth, because in those days it was only... You
were the forerunner of the block.
We were. And Dad knocked through 5 apartments to make a big house, and we all lived in this place like a kibbutz. My brother Brett lived next door to me, to my apartment, and he's a muso. He plays everything, and all his mates were coming round, doing jams. And I had a group of girlfriends, there were 5 of us at the time, that would come to my place, and we loved 50s, 60s music and picking harmonies and any excuse to drink champagne and eat cheese. And Brett... Our dad had a club called the Underground in those days, and
yes.
Brett said, for your why don't we get a band together for your 24th birthday, which was coming up in a few months. So the guys, there was David Rain was, playing drums, and Frankie McCoy, and they, he had his mates, and I had the girls, and we rehearsed, and we put on a show for 1,000 of our closest mates, and Dad loved it and gave us a residency. And through that residency, which just went gangbusters, Brad Robinson, who was the keyboard player of Australian Crawl at the time, he said, I'll manage you. And, so it was all just fun. It was crazy. And then a guy called David Whitney, who wrote Long Tall Glasses with Leo Sayer, He came in and watched it because word spread and everyone was coming to see us. So there's 5 chicks, doing this great 50s, 60s thing, choreographed and whatever. And he said, you should do this song called Witch Queen of New Orleans by Redbone. So he told Brad. Brad rang Gadinsky, Michael, and said, we want to do this thing. He said, how much money do you want? And threw some money at us. We went in and recorded it and shot a video clip. The next thing we signed to Mushroom, and the rest is history.
Amazing.
And you did live performances where? Some of the more notable places you did?
Well, we performed everywhere, everywhere. We were doing sometimes 8 gigs a week, doing double gigs. We were doing bar mitzvahs, weddings.
What was the most memorable live gig you did?
The tall ships with there was Marsha Hines and Yotha Yindi and a whole lot of people. We were way out of our league at the time, and it was down at the Port Melbourne pier with there was 100,000 people. It was New Year's Eve, just going off, and we're going, how did we end up here? And then it was going on Hey Hey It's Saturday. It was going on Countdown. It was there was just so many gigs, and it just went nuts. David Rain was this sex symbol. Girls were trying to bash down a dressing room wall. He was David Rain, is David's Rain younger brother, and it just took off, and it had a life of its own, and we just couldn't quite believe it.
It fascinates me because there was another group called Cheetah, as well as yourselves, and about the same time. Why didn't you really take off? Was it more male orientated, the music industry in Australia back then? Because there was only 2 female groups,
Cheetah were a bit before us. Cheetah were a little bit older than us.
Yeah.
I think we were offered a record deal with London Records, and the boys ran the show, and they actually said no, and they picked up Kylie Minogue. So it was really about saying yes or no and timing. Yeah. And that was pretty much why.
So did you model yourself on
Bananarama?
No,
they were at the same time.
You were good.
I've got it written down here, Bananarama. The Spice Girls.
No.
I'm just asking.
Yeah.
And God forbid me saying this, but people like the Andrews sisters. Did you?
More the Andrews sisters, because when we started, it was more 50s, 60s music, and we more modelled our harmonies and everything on that. And then when we signed up with, I guess, Witch Queen took us in a more pop direction, especially the way we did a version of it, which led us to Eve and my brother Brett writing, which was "Wanna Be Up" was the first single, and so we steered out of that direction into something. We had no master plan. We literally
did it off the top of your head. Did it off the top of your head, just.
Yeah, we just kept kind of going, and I think that was a beautiful thing, and also worked against us. I think you need a.
So why did you break up?
I left first.
Why?
Because I wanted a baby, and it just got to the point I went.
Is this where you met your husband?
Do you know what? I actually left the band. I met Stephen at a gig because Eve was married to an Olympic skier at the time, Rob McIntyre, and he brought Steve along to a gig, and I wanted a baby. And I didn't want to be doing 8 shows a week. I wasn't going to have a kid that way. And that was so strong in me. And so I did go and have my baby. And then I got
regrouped?
We've constantly regrouped. I mean, I only left, I've left now because I went to America before COVID happened. I wanted to go and really study acting. I've become a better actor as I've got older because I've really started studying the craft. And a lot of American teachers and English teachers are brought to Australia now doing master classes. So my skill level went up a lot. And so I went to the States. I wanted to not be on the road. I wanted to go, well, I'm turning 60 in whatever year it is, and which is this year, and this was 2 years ago. And I want to really hone the craft. So I went there and COVID brought me back. So I was over there for 3 months, and then it was like everything shut down, came home.
I'm just wondering, have you seen, I've absolutely besotted by this show. I don't know why. It's a show on Stan called Nashville.
Oh my God.
Have you seen Nashville?
It was. I
Don,
saw it when it came out. It was amazing.
It is.
Oh my God,
well
it's
acted.
so amazing.
It is. It's about all the bitchiness and all the backstabbing and the deals that go
politics,
on in the country music scene in Nashville, and it's acted so well by the people. It's fantastic. So
well. And the
you love the music.
Really well.
So why did I ask you that? So Do you have any? Olivia Newton-John is your aunt.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you? I suppose you know her pretty well, and
Yeah, I know her
very well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you confer with her about directions that you head in musically or not?
Not musically. I mean, she's just so pro everything that us guys do, my brother and sister and I. She's just
A beautiful
so
girl?
supportive. Yeah, she's beautiful.
Woman, yes.
Yeah, she's what you see and some. She's just beautiful. So no, I don't. But I do talk to her about choices, about, things I should do. And because she was more of a mother to me than Rona, that's clearly one of your best friends because you brought her up.
Was Rona on
I want to know
the Benny
how
Hill
many-
show?
You mentioned all these brothers and sisters.
Don,
Yeah.
You can't get a word.
I was
sorry.
in the middle of asking
Now,
Rona, young
Rona,
Toddy a question.
yeah.
Now, was she on Benny Hill?
She was.
Yeah.
She
Do you
did
think-
a couple of a few
Yeah.
Benny Hills.
There you go.
She did. Oh my God, I actually saw one. I'll tell you about two. Do you want to hear about a couple
Go
of
for
them? So my mother was pretty hot. She was a model in in her youth, and then she went and started doing theatre and stuff. And so she was on the Benny Hill show, and this is my memory. I haven't seen these clips for a long, long time. But one of them, she's sitting on a bike, on a push bike, and Benny Hill is pumping up the tyre, and as he's pumping up the tyre, her boobs like so Benny Hill. And another one, she goes into a doctor's surgery, and he's the doctor, and he sends her behind the screen to change, and as her clothes are coming off, his clothes are coming off. It's like so.
That's right.
It's Benny Hill.
You couldn't do that today.
But she was hot, my mother. She had a beautiful rig. Is that sexist of me to say that?
Yeah, it
Is that
is.
really-
We love it.
I'm allowed to say
Hereditary.
that.
Extremely
obviously.
sexist, and very well, very well said. Now you're also a marriage celebrant.
Yes.
Don, we could have kept you in business had I known you were a marriage. I could have
How many
I
weddings?
could have put a summer wing on your beach house. I could have kept you in business indefinitely. That's exciting. And can you say who are the highest, or is it
Well, I guess
confidential? Who are the highest profile people you've married?
Well, I normally, because of gigs and my weekends are normally taken up, I tend to do mainly friends and family and friends of friends. But James Raine is probably my most well-known, and he's also a really good friend, obviously. But yeah, James.
Was that
Raine
just
is probably-
recently?
No, that was a few years ago, maybe.
So
He's been married, yeah.
he split
No, this is his first marriage.
his first man.
This is his first marriage.
What are you
He's had
whispering for,
long
Don?
relationships and had a child, but this was his first
So
marriage.
what were you
Yeah, and I've
saying,
done
Don?
quite a
He
few of
split
my
up.
muso mates.
What are you saying, Don?
Yeah. No,
Well,
anyway.
it's not his fault if he split up. But he married her. She
First
married,
marriage, I know because I see the paperwork.
Yeah. And a very good friend of mine, and Greg
Yeah.
Evans, he's another...
He's married, yeah.
You love
And
it?
that's his full-time thing.
Yes, it
and
is.
he's amazing.
Yep.
It's
You
not
wouldn't
my
you
full-time
wouldn't
thing.
conduct your ceremony dressed as you are now.
Absolutely not. Unless they ask me to, who knows?
Don.
I'm in a beach dress, by the way, guys. I'm in a summer yellowy. We're actually like...
What's
the
wrong with
memo
the way
went
she's
out
dressed
to wear
now, Don?
sunset colours. Look at us. We're
What's wrong
matching.
with the way she's dressed now?
Well,
Do you think it's provocative?
Whoa.
It's a maxi dress to the
Why do you
ground.
think that's provocative?
my word, it's provocative.
It's a tie-dyed maxi summer
What are you
dress.
talking about? She's
Kind
got
of
a
provocative.
short-sleeved
Thank you.
dress on because it's summer. And
It's
a hat.
30 degrees outside.
Is it?
Yeah.
32.
I should have come more covered up, but I didn't
Weird.
think I'd offend you.
Covered up. Okay, yeah, well
but it's
done.
to the ground. I mean,
Don, please.
Don, do you know what? I think we should really leave this part of the conversation right where we are because you're going to get yourself in hot water.
Yeah, again,
He's always in hot water.
no, he is always in hot water. Where are we now? You're not. Well, you were still betrothed to Stephen.
No.
Lee? You're not.
No.
So
We're very, very good friends.
yes, of course we are. And so, are we tracking square with anyone, Dottie, or have you just?
No, I'm not tracking square with anyone.
Well, Don, there you are.
Where's the name Toddy? That is very,
Well, it was
very
from your mate Rona, actually. She came up with it because she's English. She was English because she's no longer with us. And I was born Caroline, and I was her little tot. And
Oh, so
she called me her totty.
It's good,
and it
I like
stuck.
that.
just like
And then
John and Sam.
John and Sam. And I never really related to Caroline, although it's a beautiful name. And so I ended up changing it by, deed poll.
Did you?
Oh, did you?
I did for when I became a marriage celebrant because of the legal paperwork, and no one knew me as Caroline. I didn't want to confuse everyone, so I changed it. So I kept Caroline as my middle name just for shits and giggles, whatever.
Are you going to do that?
Call myself Caroline.
No, call yourself Sam. Change John to Sam.
What, legally?
Yes.
No.
Why not?
Well, why would I?
You refer to yourself as Sam.
No,
Yeah,
I don't refer myself as Sam.
I wouldn't have done it.
You'd,
I wouldn't have changed it if it wasn't a legal thing. I wouldn't have needed to. So.
okay, now.
But you refer to yourself as John.
Oh, but I
does.
always
In your
refer
own
to
head.
myself as Sam because people only know
But
me
with
as
your
Sam.
self-talk, do you go, John, why did you say that? Or do you go, Sam,
No, just
why did
says,
that come out of my mouth?
I don't
What does the inner voice say, John or Sam?
Sam, because
Sam.
I've just got so used to people
Yeah,
calling
like
me
Todd.
Sam that people don't know who I am if I say I'm John.
Yeah.
Now, can I ask you, just following on, you're saying you're doing classes, still doing acting classes
Yes.
and so forth.
And I teach it now too.
Okay. I suppose we're all hoping. Oh, God.
What are we hoping, Don?
What is the lady's name? The Australian actress who's been rediscovered again. Jackie Weaver.
Look, I really hope so because I'm in an age bracket where I'm getting better roles. I've done a lot more theatre, and the roles are much juicier and darker, and I love playing darker roles. In between lockdowns, I did a tour of an amazing piece where I played a very, very dark woman, and I got a lot out of it. So the casting is much more interesting for me now. Having said that, I'm writing for myself as well.
So speaking of Darren Hinch, he was married to Jackie Weaver.
Yes.
What did I see her in as a dark person in
Animal Kingdom. No, that was a few years ago. Animal Kingdom
there was-
got her back on the map.
Yeah, there was something else.
Well, on
Hasn't
the
she
map.
just done? I saw
just
it,
done another
an
one.
American series or
Yes.
something.
Oh, God.
Yep,
what was
I
the name
just
of
saw her
it?
and I
Do you
thought.
remember?
I actually was watching it and I thought, is that Jackie Weaver? I couldn't believe because it was an American production of something. I thought, is that Jackie Weaver? And
What
it
was the one
turned
that
out
she
it was.
played with Ben Kingsley? Is that the one you're talking about?
I think so.
Unbelievable. But it's interesting because her face and her voice are so... What's the word for it? The way she looks and she
Interchangeable.
no, she's sort of got this young, quirky voice.
Yeah,
with
she
this,
can
and
character act the part well.
It's so fascinating.
What
And the
is it,
Americans have really
Daniel?
embraced this because it's quirky. Was it Yellowstone?
No,
Yes,
Yellowstone. I've watched
amazing.
Yellowstone. I haven't
It's
seen her in
very
Yellowstone.
dark, very out there. It appealed to me.
Yellowstone with the
Ben Kingsley.
No, it's not Yellowstone.
Is it Yellowstone?
No.
That Ben Kingsley one?
No, that's the
Which
bloke
one's
who
that?
did Waterworld. Kevin Costner is Yellowstone. She wasn't in
no,
Yellowstone.
no, she's on Yellowstone. We
In Yellowstone?
We need the Google.
That's where I must have seen it. What you
I'll
was
leave that
following
up
on
to
from something you were saying, Don? I can't even think what I was following on from. Oh, yes, so you're not going out with anyone, and it says, it is in the Google machine,
Yeah.
you were engaged to Mr. Mayo.
Yes.
Who is Mr. Mayo?
A guy
Not
called
that it's any of our business.
Jimmy. I met him through some mates. We were together for 7 years, and
Were
we
you?
were engaged. And then he froze, and
Sorry,
he froze.
he what?
He froze.
Froze, Don. Got
froze.
cold feet.
He got cold feet.
Froze, you know
Yeah.
that term.
Oh, no, I've never heard of it.
You've never heard of
I've
frozen?
never heard it in a relationship before, no.
Really?
No.
God, I've had Christ.
What, you've frozen?
Frozen
plenty of
100 times. I've
You have
frozen,
or they
yes.
have?
No, all of them. Yeah. No.
So we were really,
Yes.
really, like, we still are really good friends.
Are you?
Actually, we did. We got through. I was very brokenhearted, and it took me a couple of years to really recover from that because I really loved him. But we got back on track. He actually was on a plane. I've got a video of him in my phone from yesterday. He caught the same plane as one of my brothers, Charlie, to LA, and they sent a video. And he's gone, Taylor, you toddy, love you. Like, we stayed mates, but he just couldn't get over the line, and he still hasn't. And that was 12 years ago now, so he's still not. He said, we've talked about it. We had dinner last time I was in Sydney. He said, I'm doing the same shit, Todd. And I go, well, it's not my problem now. God love you. But he's a beautiful person, but he's got some... We all have our issues. All of us.
Do we ever?
We do.
And the man sitting alongside you there
hasn't got an issue in the world.
Doesn't know it.
Now, Don, have you got any other...
No, I've exhausted everything.
You've exhausted the one thing you knew about her, that her mother was called Rona?
That's it.
No,
That's it. You've
she's
known
answered
fuck all else about anything to do with it.
The only thing is, you didn't really answer my Shantuzi's question.
Oh, sorry.
Because it fascinates me in music why you can get together as a group, and then after a while, and I should imagine there's many, many reasons why groups break down.
Yes.
Is it creative? Is it personality? Or is it a combination of all of those things? Because you said you came back. I know you did a comeback, but you also you finished, as the Shantuzi said. And you went off and had the baby. I understand all of that.
Right. So then I formed my own band because they were doing really well. I started my own doing Sunday gigs at the Red Eagle, which was down in Victoria Avenue in Albert Park. I loved it. Yeah. I got offered a tour to the Northern Territory. I didn't want to do that, have that experience on my own. And so I called the girls up and I said, I've been offered a tour in the Northern Territory. If I put it to the guy that's offered me the tour, would you do it with me? Because I don't want to do it alone. They're like, yeah. And so they jumped, and then we kept working with this promoter, and then Ali moved up to Sydney, so she was out for a while and she was doing TV and theatre, and then we kind of come and go. I literally went this time because I wanted to pursue acting, and as I said before, I got brought back after 3 months of being at the Ivana Chubbuck Studios in LA, and so I started writing a TV series, which I've nearly finished, and I'm pitching. I've wrote a deck for another series that is on the table at the moment with Channel 10. I'm hoping to get up. I wanted to do things that I could move into as Jane Fonda would say, my third act. I wanted to do things I could move into my third act doing, and I didn't want to be doing pop singing. Having said that, I said I'll do any charity gigs if they need me to jump in, which I've already done. And I love the girls, they're my best friends. Ali and I went and saw a movie last night. Evie and I went walking the day before. They're just my mates, and that will never change. I love them. And I'm right behind, so it's Evie and Ali doing it now. Angie's had 4 children. She lives up in the Northern Territory. She didn't want to tour anymore. And I really like getting to bed early and waking up early and feeling healthy. And I'm 59, I'm 60 this year, and I want to feel good. I want my hours to be healthier, and that's where theatre comes in and television, film comes in, writing.
Now, almost finally, Don.
Have I answered your question, Don? Thank you.
You are medically endorsed by the medical fraternity because you have a sleep album. You recorded a sleep album for people, I presume, to do with your chronic fatigue.
Correct.
Now, just tell us that. How do you record a sleep album? In collaboration with it. I'm just reading this out here. To record a sleeper that has been prescribed by doctors. She collaborated with a child psychologist on her other album, which is aimed at children.
Yes, so I did. So the sleep one I did with a sleep scientist guy called Chris Bunny.
Bunny, yep.
And I had such bad problems with chronic fatigue. I just could not sleep. My mind was racing and just back to what you said about chronic fatigue and depression. I became depressed when it went on for years and years and years, and post-viral depression, because it's very heavy viruses in your system, and I was having terrible anxiety. I had to take my daughter out of the private school. That was not a problem. It was actually a blessing in disguise. I had to sell my house. I had to downsize everything because I had income protection insurance and they didn't honour it, and because chronic fatigue in those days was known as a depressive disorder. And anyway, cut a long story short, when I got better, I have extraordinary empathy to people that have problems sleeping. So with my meditation, I'd started meditating when I was pregnant with Layla, so I knew quite a lot about it. I'd been trained by extraordinary people and picked it up other things along the way because I'm really into it. So I got together with a sleep scientist to make a sleep CD to help people tune out of their minds and get into their breath and do things that I'd learnt through meditation. So we did that together, and then my daughter Layla had terrible asthma as a baby, and at one stage she had asthma and croup at the same time when she was 10 months old, and we nearly lost her. And then when they were about to give her a tracheotomy because she wasn't responding to the medication, I started singing Humphrey B. Bear, and suddenly she relaxed because it was familiarity. The medication took, they didn't have to do the trachea, and I started recognising the power of meditation for younger people. So I got together with a psychologist, a child psychologist, and we created a CD for younger people to help them deal with stress.
You are an extraordinarily impressive person, Toddy. You're a star. Now, I hesitate to read this out, but I'm going to anyhow because
if you hesitate, I'm nervous.
No, it's in the
it's in Wiki. You've got to believe it.
It's in our friend. It's at our friend, the Google machine.
It's the Google.
She was also known as a sex symbol early in her career, and she posed nude in a magazine called Black and White in August in 1996. Have you got a copy of it available that you could give to Don and I?
Yeah, I've got some photos in here.
What about me?
Phone still.
If you could send the whole lot of the shoot to Don and I, that could keep us amused and entertained for the best part of the rest of the year.
Do you know Angie, who's in the Shantuzis, her... well, they didn't get married, but father of her children was the photographer, and he did the whole thing on Polaroids, and it was just beautiful. It was amazing. I wanted to do it. Layla at the time was 3, and I felt it's very empowering for women, and I still do, and I don't think women my age should disappear either. I love nudity. I think the female form is the shapes and the soft. I think it's beautiful. And I felt very honoured doing Black and White magazine.
Don has a
There was no
camera here.
bits. You couldn't see any bits.
No, Don has a camera. It's called a phone. He's got a camera phone. If you
want to strip off,
Don
this
would
is
love
going
to
in a
take
direction that we should just rewind,
be
just
like,
back up
I'm
really.
speaking on behalf of myself, Don.
Let's
Don't
talk
look
about
at me
the
like that,
charities I
please.
work for. Let's segue this into the Big Umbrella.
Yes,
can we
speak about that. And then,
do you know?
Umbrella.
Yeah.
Yes, Don, it's a charity.
It's a charity, and actually, because in one of the reasons I got the OAM, the Order of Australia, was because of the charitable work I've done for years, mostly with Olivia Newton-John. My auntie started a hospital and wanted me on board with helping her get it going, and I started with it ground up out at the Austin. And with her experience with cancer, she had to outsource all the things like acupuncture and meditation and oncology massage and all this kind of thing. So they built a wing called the Olivia Newton-John Cancer and Wellness Centre, and I became very proactive with that, and also worked with a lot of other charities. So, but one that with COVID, a lot of the charity work I was doing disappeared, and I found that very difficult because part of how I function well in the world is how I can help, and I get fed. It's like when you give, you're fed at the same time. And the Big Umbrella appeared in front of me, and basically they feed the people. That it's not just the homeless at the moment. It's a lot of people due to COVID. They've still got a car and a home, but they can't pay the mortgage or the rent, and they can't put food on the table. And this has happened. It's very, very important at the moment. So they've served over 300,000 meals. It's 100% volunteer based. Everything that they have is volunteer. The guy that runs it, Justin, it's volunteer for him. And they rescue food. So they've rescued over 440 tonnes of food to this.
So they go and pick it up from supermarkets or bakeries or whatever.
Yeah, and some of it gets delivered, and then as a volunteer, we go into the kitchens. I post this on my Instagram, on the Big Umbrella Instagram. You can see some videos I go in there and make. And we wash the food, we cut the food up. There's chefs that give us the menus. They tell us how to prepare the food, and then it gets packaged up, or we go into Fed Square in trays and we serve it. And I actually took Ali Fowler, who's one of the Shantuzi girls. She came down with me last Wednesday to help serve, but Eric Banner and his wife Rebecca were in the kitchen with me, prepping the food. John Stevens goes down there pretty much every Wednesday. We need volunteers. We also need corporates to go in, and because corporates pay, because it's what do they call it? They call it a bonding?
What?
No, bonding. Well, they need sponsorship.
No,
Physio sponsoring. Corporate.
Yeah, like bonding days.
It's bonding days, but there's another word for it. It's
I know.
something. Do you know what I'm saying? So the corporates pay, and this is a very big part of keeping this going, and they take the whole corporate team down. And there's some corporates going down next Wednesday, so I'm going down to film it. Team building. Team building.
You're onto it.
They are.
Yep.
Thank you, Brain.
So if people wanted to get involved in it, how would they do it?
They would go onto the Big Umbrella on Instagram or Facebook. No, on Facebook and message them saying they want to go in and volunteer, or on their website. So they really do need volunteers.
Well, if anyone deserved an OAM for any other reason just than that, you are a deserved recipient of that. And for everything else you've done, Toddy, you are a star in every field, radio, acting, television, all the thing, and you're a great person. And Don, thank Toddy Goldsmith for coming in on behalf of Rona. Thank her for coming in and being part of You Cannot Be Serious, will you please?
I found it very interesting, and I'm fascinated with what you said, because I was a fan, as I said, of Cheetah and the Shantuzis. So
did you ever see a gig, live one?
I did not go.
Not that big a fan.
No.
Turn
I'm
up.
not in. I don't. I had a
He's a
problem
recluse.
going out. I had a problem going out in those days.
sorry.
So I didn't go to any of those things. No, I didn't go to.
What do you mean you had a
concerts.
problem
Well,
going
anyway.
You're a
Social
hermit,
anxiety.
a recluse.
No,
Social
I
anxiety?
just anyway.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's hard.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it
Social
is.
anxiety is hard.
Yeah, it is. It's
awful.
hard. I can hardly get you up here of a week. Out of your comfort zone. Righto, well, that's it. That's enough about us.
Thanks, guys.
Toddy Goldsmith, you star.